Philip Gaffney, not Patrick Gaffney. I apologise to you for that. And if I paraphrase the biblical quote, blessed am I among politicians. Here I am at the moment. I've got a man from Armagh, from UKIP. That you're very welcome, Wayne Hawthorne. Good to see you. First time in studio. It's good to see you here. I've got Connaire McGreevy, not the first time and not the last time. Certainly not the last time for you either. You're most welcome. And John McArdle, the grand young man of the political scene here. You're not going forward again, but that's another matter.
Yeah, that's history.
That's history. He's not going forward again. Listen, we've seen Philip Gaffney there talk about the thing, the extravaganza, the winter wonderland there. Let's come to you first, Connaire. If you take the mic, we'll share that mic. Just hold it like that, close to you. No and tell me, what's your take on all of this and what's your involvement as a councillor?
Well, I think, first of all, back in November, it came to council to grant access...
Closer to your mouth, please.
Sorry. So it came to council back in November to grant access to the Albert Basin, which is a council-owned facility and land, to put on a winter extravaganza, as you say, Rowan. And we were presented with this opportunity, which on paper was a golden opportunity for the Newry and Mourne and greater surrounding hinterland area to bring people to the district, into the city at Christmas to try and boost business, create employment and all the rest. We're talking figures and trying to bring in 100,000 people to the area through that month. So council agreed to grasp this opportunity with both hands and say, yes, let's try and do this. Let's try and build something for the local community.
How did you know, and I'm now sharing John's microphone. Is he getting me there, Andrew? Is that okay? And I'll talk up a little bit on that. But how did council check them out? Did you, was there a provenance there? Did you say, how do we know that our investment of confidence in you is going to be well placed?
We got these assurances from the Director of Administration. Now, this
which Director of Administration?
Edmund Curtis.
Oh, in the council, not in the promoters.
We got the assurance. We were told within reason that everything possible was checked, everything we believed was above board, and that we...
No one's saying it's below board.
Oh, no,
there's no question of that.
Not a question. So we were all very, very excited, because it has been said on many occasions, we don't provide enough entertainment for our younger people. So this was a golden opportunity to do that, to provide entertainment, to bring crowds into Newry, which would assist the shops, assist the financial factor, and perhaps assist more temporary jobs. So everyone was very excited. We were delighted. We were looking forward to this great opportunity. And as it so turned out, because of weather and other factors, it wasn't so successful.
Wayne Hawthorne from Armagh, you were some of the people, your citizenry in Armagh were some of the people we wanted to bring to Newry for this. Yes. And you were besieged almost on Facebook over this.
Well, what come about now, members of staff, they had contacted me as well whenever the rumours, everything started coming out through social media. I also had members of the public that had come and spent their money in Newry. They had went shopping, they had been at the ice rink.
And what were you hearing about it?
We were hearing the allegations saying that the company had packed up and done a midnight flit. Staff hadn't been paid, and obviously then we had to look in further, pose questions, to the council.
Yeah, Connaire, what were you hearing on Facebook and all of that?
Yeah, well, I suppose throughout the time I was here, there was a wee bit of negativity in and around it, and as John rightly says, the weather didn't play its part in trying to create what we wanted here, the positive event that it was going to be for the young people and all the rest. And then on Sunday night, Rome, it broke that a number of young people, 35 roughly, had not been paid, and I was initially contacted, and I made immediate contact to the Director of Administration and to the Council Chief Executive, asking, can we intervene, can we do something here, given that it was council land. So there's been a number of things that have happened since then. I met the young people last night at their protest outside council, expressed my disappointment and my siding shoulder to shoulder with them to try and get their money and try and do what we can as a council, whatever's possible, to ensure that they're paid. And I know my colleague here, John, also met with the young people yesterday.
Yes,
and there's a series of meetings lined up for today.
Can I say, by the way, in this conversation, we're going to be talking for another 20 minutes. Feel free to interact on this. I'm short of a microphone today, so do feel free to cut in and to have a conversation rather than be waiting to be asked to speak.
Yeah.
But was it not as plain as the nose in your face, John McArdle?
Well, it wasn't.
No, but if we wanted to do something big in Newry at Christmas time, Newry's going to be cold at Christmas time, Newry's going to be damp at Christmas time, Newry's going to be dark at Christmas time, Newry's going to be iced up at Christmas time. People huddle around fires. They're not going to go to an old waste tract of land at the Albert Basin to go ice skating.
No, yeah, but you've got to look outwards. I mean, this company, they have run a session like this in Cork. They ran a session in Dublin, which was a massive success. You know, no, you must look outwards. I mean, yesterday morning I got a telephone call from a senior politician. Get down quick, he says, and talk to the young people. I went down to the Albert Basin at 10:15. I listened carefully to what the young people were saying, and basically what they said was at least 30 of these young people were not paid. There and then I arranged through the council administrator a meeting for Newry City Councillors, which took place at 2:15. I spoke to the coordinator and he told me he would be there. He gave that assurance he would be there to speak to the delegation and to Newry Morn Councillor and to Newry City Councillors. When we went to the meeting, he refused to speak jointly to the delegation and councillors. The delegation came in, they told us their tale of woe, which was very sad. And the all fact was, a lot of these young people, for the first time, it was employment in their lives. So when you're going into a job for the first time, it's a whole new world, an exciting world. What's going to happen? So whenever he came up, he wouldn't speak.
Why would he not speak? Why was he there if he wasn't going to speak?
He gave us no reason. But then whenever they left, he came in and spoke to us. He gave us an assurance. He was going last night to the senior director of the company, and we had left him, look, in no uncertain manner, you must come back and let us know if these young people are getting paid. That is fundamental to this whole saga. These young people must be paid. And they worked all over Christmas. They sacrificed their Christmas to try to make a few pounds. And lo and behold, look what happened.
Yeah, indeed, look what happened. Now they're out of pocket. Now there is a mechanism open to the young people. It's called the Small Claims Court. They can take these people to court and to get their money. Will the council take steps to facilitate their application to the Small Claims Court to help them get their money?
Rowan, I don't think we're at that stage yet. I mean, we're still talking to the proprietors.
Yeah, but there's no money in the barrel, it seems.
Well, we don't know that. And I think we need to be careful with going down to court and saying anything today about courts and all the rest of it.
Well, the court thing I'm saying is, these are youngsters who have not been paid. There's a substantial amount of money due to them.
Yeah.
There's no evidence that they're going to get the money. And these youngsters, new as you say to the business of learning, of the world of work, these youngsters don't know where to turn next. But there is a well-established avenue for them to sue in the Small Claims Court. And that's all I'm saying, that maybe they should be guided in that direction.
Well, as I said, there was meetings yesterday, as John has outlined. There's 2 more meetings lined up today. There's one this evening, which will probably be the crucial one, and that's where that decision will be taken, Rowan. So I don't want to say here today that that's the path that should go down, because while it's still open and a possibility that they will get paid, we need to be...
Jaw better than war.
That's it.
That's
Churchill. You're being Churchillian.
Of course I am, John. You would expect nothing less. Wayne, tell me about the Armagh end of it, because you guys look to Newry, Newry looks to Armagh. We're very close together, but very seldom the twain do meet.
Very seldom, and it is going to take something like this to bring, the Newry on Ice, the whole venture over Christmas, to open the areas up to visitors coming into the attraction, and I think this it puts a whole dampener as well on it, that if something like this can happen, what will happen in future. Going back to your suggestion going to small claims, it is something we have to keep an open option on.
Of course. It's not going away. It'll always be there as an option for the youngsters.
It's not going to go away. Several of the youngsters that have contacted me, a few of them, parents had queries over their tax and national insurance contributions. Were these being fulfilled? They had come off job seekers into this you know, it does go a lot bigger, and it does leave these young people open as well.
One of the things,
Connor,
that I note from it. Are we okay with my sound, Andrew? Yeah. That's loud mouth. He can hear me all right.
You can hear you in Texas.
But one of the things that they're worried about is that apparently the youngsters give their details, their personal banking details, to have money paid in. They're now worried about, is there some kind of security implication in the money?
Well, of course, they're going to be worried about that, and rightly so. Whenever you haven't got paid, you start thinking the worst. But I'm trying to remain positive here. I'm trying to remain optimistic that, you know, we will get these people paid, and we'll put this saga behind us. But Rowan, I have to say, like, this was all done on the positive opportunity that it was presented. And we've seen these types of events across the UK and Ireland. We've seen them across Germany and all the rest. These work. They draw people in. Unfortunately, in Newry, the Newry on Ice Winter Extravaganza has been nothing short of a disaster for us. But we have to try and work with the young people, work with the proprietors, because we have the information. The council has the information, and that's why I went to the chief executive to try and do what we can as the people that lease that land for a month only. And that's another thing I want to quash here today. It's not leased to them for 3 years.
Oh God, no! I hadn't heard that.
Well, that's
it's going. No.
But it's only 1 month. It's over now. But let's work hard to try and get the young people back their money. Also, we're talking about the young people all the time. There's also businesses that have supplied stuff into the site and haven't been paid. So we also are trying to work with that too, to see what's open to them. This is a risk all the time with private enterprise and what happens there and whether people are secured. And you're right, court option and all, it has to be there. We have to keep it on the table, yes, but let's try and work at it. Let's ensure that if we can't get the data back and destroy it, that the people have, let's do that too. But let's try and be optimistic.
What about this meeting tonight? What's happening? Is it tonight this meeting is? There's another meeting you mentioned?
There is a meeting tonight in McGreevy's at 5:15.
With who?
Yeah, and that meeting will be told of the outcome of the meeting this afternoon between the Administrator of Council and the Coordinator. So when the result of that meeting between Edmund Curtis and the Coordinator will come back to us then, and then the next step then we'll decide what steps should be taken. If we don't get a positive sign today regarding the payment of the wages for the young people, then we've got to sit down and plan. And then Connaire is right. Perhaps then we'll go down the legal road. But you must take one step at a time, and we must be very, very careful, because let's face it, if the money is forthcoming this afternoon, the saga is over. But I would say. The onus will be to pay the young people, but then the saga then for the business fraternity who give a lot of time, a lot of workers, and a lot of their money and goods, they also have to be paid.
Are you worried that it could be a case that pigs will fly if they get paid? Is that how bad it is?
I wouldn't go. No.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't go that far either.
No.
But as John says, and I've said, there's 2 meetings today. There's that first meeting where we've got our council official talking to the proprietor of the event to try and negotiate the deal to get the young people paid and any other monies that we can get from them to secure. It's in their interest here because they are looking to come back.
Yes.
They are looking to come back. They want this to be a success, and as I said, it has been a success in other places. They'll never get back to through the doors of Newry if they don't pay the bills that are outstanding.
That's
so
right.
It's in their interest to do it today, and then hopefully there's a positive outcome, and we tell people tonight that we've resolved it. We are working hard, Rowan.
Wayne, have you things up
yes, we have to look as well too at the council's part in this. You know, did the council do enough whenever they were told this company wanted to come in? Did the councillors do enough work by just accepting the executive's word on it?
I have to come in,
please do,
because the way council works, and this is maybe a misconception out there.
And Wayne, you'll probably find out how council works when you get elected to council.
Hopefully, yes.
And I'm not being critical of yourself, Wayne, and all the rest.
It's a fair enough question.
But it's a
if I had a mic, I would have been asking you.
It's something that people don't really understand out there, how council works. Council works, the officials do the bread and butter. They do the administration. They get into the nitty-gritty of it. They come to us with recommendations. And that's what was presented in November. A recommendation that we grant lease to this company. we don't get it. We don't even hear who it is. Now, I've said before, whenever I was the group leader of the SDLP, I often got up whenever we were being asked to ratify tenders. I feel like a mushroom here again. But that is the legal advice. That's what's stated to council, not to give us that information in case it brings us into some sort of conflict of interest, in case it brings on litigation against us or against the council.
So the ultimate the ultimate trust is in your officials. What's wrong with
Absolutely.
that?
The trust should be there, but councillors have to have more accountability, more
How does that
responsibilities.
work? Like, I mean, these guys can do no more. He's explained precisely what was done and why it was done in
yes,
that way.
but
What more would you want them to do, Wayne?
there still is the whole element in my head as well, as those that were working, the young people that were working at Newry on Ice is, but why did the council not ask us? A simple Google search, things like that, look into companies.
But I mean, you've got, hold on a minute, you must assume, we must assume that the council officials, the professional managers of council, who make the calls, do the Google searches, we must assume that these things were done appropriately by the appropriate people.
We have to assume, yes, that they were done, but we have to ask them for evidence.
Yeah.
You know, what have you done? What about them? Tell me
the other
something.
the other thing that comes back to me on it is what you said earlier. If you make no mistakes, you make no progress. And these people, council, and you'll be doing the same in Armagh, you're reaching out to pull in visitors, and you're presented with a very cleverly constructed package. You're presented with a very attractive deal. You're obviously going to go for it if your officials tell you it's okay. I think it's probably unfair to blame these guys.
It probably seems unfair to blame the councillors directly, but then it's the officials maybe not supplying enough information. But to me, in my mind, and a lot of the young people wanting to know how it went so far, is coming out and hearing somebody come to me and says, "Yep, here's this. This is the process. They recommend this company to us, so we're just going to go ahead with it."
That's the way it works. That is the way it works. If the recommendation is there, you go for it.
The process may be flawed then.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, as I said, I've been up in council and I've said I feel like a mushroom. We've got legal advice on it. That's what was advised. This is the process to keep carrying forward for whatever reason, right or wrong reasons. Now, we don't get presented with this is the recommendation to go with this company, ABC Limited or whatever it is. That doesn't happen. And that frustrates me, but look, that's how council works. It works in every council the same way. I would like to have more in-depth detail into every decision that we do.
Yeah.
I'm the only councillor up there, as I said to you before, Rowan. I get a special report sent to me every month on the finances of the council and how we're spending our money. That's a special report that the director does. And I go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And I've also often come back to the director of finance and say, what's that for, what's that for, what's that for? But that's me. We don't have full-time councillors. That's the other point that we need to understand too. 60% of councillors also have another business or some other job. So we've got to deal with the facts here.
John?
Yeah. Well, I have the privilege of being a full-time councillor. And yes, Connaire is one of the gems of our council, not just for the SDLP, but for all of the ratepayers of the people of Newry. And he goes down with a fine comb and looks at everything. And that's vitally important. Vitally important. To see, politics is a peculiar thing. You can say whatever you like in opposition, and you can say this, that and the other. But in actual fact, the workings of council, it's not so easy. And you're presented with certain... the officials will present you with A, B and C, but you must make decisions. And politics by their very nature are divisive, because you can't please everyone. You can please, and it's not a utilitarian thing. You're going to try and please the majority, but you must take into consideration the views of the minority. That's vitally important.
Wayne, go.
What John's saying there, the recommendation comes to council. The recommendation presented in November was to grant access this year to try and benefit the local area, create jobs, prosperity, and up to 100,000 people coming to visit. There's not one council went against it. Why? Because it was too good.
And that includes your UKIP colleague, Henry Riley.
That's right.
So you're criticising him as well.
Yep, that's one thing we can do.
Yeah, but you can do that when you're not elected. It's a different story if you're elected.
I think they're all into trouble. They're in trouble when you get in, I tell you, Wayne.
With UKIP, we are allowed to vote against each other if
Yeah.
it's in the best interest of the community.
I was talking, yeah. But sorry, I interrupted. Did you want to say something?
No,
before I did?
that was the point, you know.
For me, alarm bells started to ring away at the beginning when it didn't open when it should have opened. And as I went past, I saw a damp, dismal awfulness on that middle bank site. I saw nothing that made me go, wow. Were you worried at that time?
Rowan, as I said to you previously, yes, there was concerns from day one. Whenever it didn't open, it was closing early, all the rest of it. There was issues, there was suppliers in there telling me things. But we're getting, you know, it's a private enterprise here. All council's involvement was the lease of that ground.
No, we've moved away from criticising you. We're away. Where you're clear. You're clean. Nobody's shouting at you anymore. But I'm just talking about in your own head and in your own heart.
That's what
Did you not feel it?
Yeah, but that's what he's trying to tell us if he gets a chance.
Oh, thank you, John. Chairman John.
Oh my God.
He's looking at your job now.
Oh my
Go for
goodness.
it.
I had concerns, but what could we do? I raised the concerns with the council officials. We don't control when they open or anything like that there. All we done was give them the lease.
Yeah.
Personally, yes, and take the council hat off here. I didn't even go to it. But, well, I don't do those things. I can't ice skate. I'll probably break my leg. But look, I didn't think it was an attractive location for it either. But here, that was not our call. They came to us saying they want that site. For me personally, I'd love to see the council put on something like this here. Ice skating, maybe in Hill Street, outside the old Woolworths store.
Why does New York come to mind and the square in Manhattan where they all come out at New Year's and skate around and there's lovely music being played? I saw none of this, you see. That was my...
But I'm sure you were watching New York over the last few days. The east coast of America and Midwest, massive snow. The facilities are there, the snow is there. Where is the snow in Newry, Mr. Hand?
We don't have it. So Winter Wonderland just doesn't work.
Right.
So listen, guys, that's. I wish you well this evening at the meetings, but I think it's important to say that you guys need to be, and girls need to be congratulated for pushing the boat out and having a go, because you can. If you sit down and do nothing, you're going to get nowhere. And I think the structures were in place. As they exist within council at the moment, for the whole checks to be done by the officials, the thing brought to you, and at that point no one said no, it was too good.
But it should also be said that this is very important from the delegation yesterday. Not one person in the delegation, the young delegation, has blamed Newry and Mourne Council. The blame is totally in the hands of... Now, I think that's important to say that, because they have said that specifically. We don't point the finger at council, it's the finger at the proprietor.
I want to make something very, very clear here, John. I'm shouting at the microphone here. No finger of blame is being pointed from this studio at Newry and Mourne District Council.
We know.
In fact, this man has exercised his right to make a comment and a criticism, but we've dealt with it because we've defined the procedure that works, that always has worked, and we've praised your courage for having a go. But I think your own question maybe tells a lot. Where the hell is the snow?
In New York.
So listen to me, Wayne, for you in Armagh, what's Armagh got up its sleeve for the year ahead? That sounds like nothing.
It's going to be a very long year.
That equally sounds like nothing.
with the new mergers, proposed mergers in the councils.
Who are you going with? Remind me.
It will be with Banbridge and Craigavon.
Yeah, and you're going. You guys are going to Down.
Yeah, we're going with Down.
Have you bought your flat in Downpatrick so that you can be part of the council there? There's going to be no council headquarters in Newry.
Where is Downpatrick?
I'll tell you where it is. It's where your new council headquarters is going to be.
No. That has to be decided. And apparently it'll be decided on the night in question by the councillors, you know. I suspect, my own view is this, it'll be half and half. Half of the departments, I believe, will be in Newry and half in Downpatrick. And that defeats the whole logic of savings.
Does?
Yeah.
A house divided against itself cannot stand.
My own view about the councils coming together is a shipwreck. personally. That's my own view. Not the view of my own view personally.
Shotgun marriages.
Yeah. I mean, what have we in common with Strangford Lock?
Well,
we go as far up now as
we
Strangford
have a
Lock.
lock. We have a lock.
I'm not saying anything. So it's beautiful country up there. But I mean, it's the geography of the thing. In Germany, small towns of 4,000 of population, they have a council with 4,000 of population. I believe they should have let the thing stay the way it was. I do believe. This business of saving 200 million over a 25-year period, it is pie in the sky.
Yeah.
There are two hopes, Bob Hope and no hope.
Rowan, I mean, I have been vocal up in the council about the RPA, against it.
Right.
RPA, sorry?
The Review of Public Administration.
That's right, yeah.
Which is the merge of the councils. I don't think it's going to be good for the people. No. I think it's going to remove democracy from the citizen.
Totally agree.
Bigger mergers. You're pushing politicians further away from the people, as I say.
Totally.
John's talking about half and half. I mean, that's just not going to work.
Yeah.
The ABC, Armagh, Banbridge, Craigavon Council.
Banbridge, Craigavon, yeah. I could see more natural connectivity between Newry and Armagh than between Newry and Downpatrick.
If there's going to be any mergers, it should have been on the parliamentary wards.
The Member of Parliament is Newry and Armagh. I mean, from a cultural and a geographical point of view, it's a natural fit. Because we've had that natural fit in council for years.
So, will you get the placards? Will you organise the loudspeakers? And will you rent the crowd?
Absolutely.
We'll change the whole thing.
I think I mean, as John and I are sitting here at the SDLP, people are saying it's the SDLP that are delivering this. It's our minister that's tasked with the responsibility of delivering it. It doesn't mean it's SDLP policy, because it's not.
No. Are you going to sack him?
No. Well, look, he's in. This is the problem too. There's a misconception. The government, the executive of the Northern Ireland Parliament, if you want the Assembly, those ministers are above the Assembly. They're above politics, essentially. That's how it's meant to work. Yeah. So there's a programme for government that's been carved up. They're trying to deliver that now. And he's tasked, from the OFM, DFM, deliver a 11 council model. So he's now doing what he has to do. Otherwise, he will fall foul of the ministerial code. So he's got to do it. But
should he not have the courage to stand up? Because presumably he thinks the same as you guys think. And dare I put those thoughts in his head? But should he not have the courage to resign over it? This is a resignation matter.
But there's another factor here. Whenever Alex Atwood was the minister in question, he went to the executive on umpteen occasions. They wouldn't give him a penny to bring about the review of public administration, even though the executive promised at the beginning. They had promised to pay every penny to bring these massive changes. So only after massive representation did they decide to give some money. But Newry Council and the other councils, the rates are going to go through the roof to bring about the finalisation of the review of public administration. And I mean, Henry Riley puts it very well. He can see himself out on the streets, a revolution in relation to the rates. We ourselves, we feel very strong about this. I believe myself that the rates, unless something drastic is done very soon, the rates are going to go through the roof. And I think the people of Newry and all the other councils should be aware of that. And there should be massive public representation to the senior politicians. Let's do something about this, or else we're in serious trouble. Oh yeah.
We'll come back on a positive note, and that not that was not positive, John, but I mean it was certainly voluble and it was very good. It's important, but it was positive too, John.
I'm not standing next election.
I know you're not. You don't care. You
starting the revolution.
I care. I passionately care about the
Red. I know you do.
I'm joining Henry in the revolution, but
I'm joining.
Can we talk about something you and I talked about the other? And this is of interest to you too, because when your people come to the Southern Area Hospice as well, we're in a situation where we have a Southern Area Hospice, which the very title has become synonymous with the financial word crisis. Government is welshing on its responsibility to give proper financial support to it. Where are we in demanding that government gets its finger out and funds hospice completely, and that all notion of crises goes without the hospice concept, and that they can concentrate completely up there on the hill with caring for people?
I personally believe the hospice should be brought in within the health trusts. I mean, it's not just the hospice, but we also need to put more funding into all the health trusts. There's not enough doctors, there's not enough nurses, Sure, we're seeing that at the minute in Downpatrick and Lagan Valley, where we're closing accident and emergencies at weekends and sending them to Belfast.
John, this is your territory.
Yeah. I have spent
John's a former nurse.
Yeah, I have spent my life, 35 years, working in hospitals. I worked in a medical ward for 17 years, looking after strokes, looking after terminally ill patients from cancer. If we didn't have the hospice in Newry, Daisy Hill and Craigavon would have to open up at least another ward for medical, and male medical and female medical, because the hospitals at the moment they couldn't cope. So it's very important, and I've said umpteen times, hospice should be fully funded. Fully funded. If you didn't have the hospice, and if you didn't have the tremendous skills associated with the hospice, the Daisy Hill and Craigavon and all the others, we would be inundated. We would virtually collapse. We couldn't cope. And I can remember when I first went to work in hospital, the first 3 months I worked in a surgical ward, and I saw one case of abdominal cancer. You go downtown or you meet relatives, you meet friends and that, and everyone's saying so-and-so isn't well, and it's the big C, it's cancer. So there's a massive rise in terminally ill cases as a result of carcinomas. Now, it's very important to remember, there's umpteen types of cancer, umpteen types, but it's massively on the rise. But we need to fund fully, and I've been saying this at the beginning, but it's up to our senior politicians. It's up to our senior politicians to put, and our UKIP friend is probably right, there isn't enough money. There's an £80 million slush fund at the moment, 3 years ago created. The DUP and Sinn Féin cannot decide how this money should be allocated. I say this moment, take some of that money for the hospitals.
Who do you define as senior politicians?
Well, members of Parliament, MLAs.
What's Dominic doing about it?
Well, Dominic is trying his best, and I know that now. I have gone to Jim Wells, who was to be the potential health minister. I've gone to Donny Kennedy, I've gone to Margaret Ritchie, I've gone to Dominic, I've gone to most of them, and I've let them know what's happening at the moment vis-a-vis Daisy Hill Hospital, potentially. So in other words, if they say in a few months' time, we didn't know the stroke unit was going to go, we didn't know that the paediatric standards assessment, we didn't know that was on, they all know.
Yeah, Rowan, I haven't had a response to the letter to Minister
That's right, you've been writing
on the hospice, so as I said, whenever I have that, I will share it with you so that you know where it stands. Again, Wayne was saying about UKIP, you can disagree. I slightly disagree with John in that he said fully funded. I know Wayne said fully funded. I don't think it should be fully funded. I think it should be maybe 80%, as I said to you the other day, to allow it to have the freedoms to expand and do other things outside.
You also give government the wriggle room. If you're asking for 80%, you know, you really want 100%, but
That's
you're
right,
giving them a chance to say, well, we can't give you we give you more, we'll double what you're getting.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I think, anyway, it can't be fully funded. I don't think it's going to work that way. I don't think you're going to get it, and I want to be real about what we're trying to achieve. We need more funding, as I said to you. We need to move away from the 30% statutory funding to a higher figure. I think it should be somewhere closer to 80. Let's try and get there. Let's try and get as much as we can, maybe. But the hospice, as I did say the other day, it does tremendous work. And it's much more than cancer, as I said. It's in the other areas of healthcare. And I praise you for the campaign that you're starting on. We went 25 years ago, the hospice started with 6 beds. Today there's 12 beds plus 2 spillover beds. And John's right, if it wasn't there, Daisy Hill would be
overwhelmed.
A lot of pressure.
Wayne?
Once you go over I suppose you're talking the 30% statutory funding at the moment, like once you go over the sort of the 50% mark, you're giving government then that leeway that they would have control of it. So I still personally would push for the full funding, bring it within the health service, give them more support and take it from there. Yes, Daisy Hill, Craigavon, they can't cope. They can't cope as it is because of the lack of funds coming from our health minister, coming from the folk on the hill.
But right across healthcare, in my view, I think it's under attack. I think we're stripping away at the NHS from London right through to our own devolved health in the inputs, the minister, and the Compton report, and all it's there. And yes, people say you're scaremongering and all the rest. You're trying to take PR here for talking about Daisy Hill under threat. Listen, Daisy Hill is a physical building. It will be there, yes. Yes, there's things that have been enhanced, there's been investment into it, but are we getting the same investment that Craigavon's getting? No, we're not. And facts and figures can be produced to show that. Are things maybe changing in it? Stroke care out for consultation at the minute. What's the future of stroke care in this area? I don't know. Only the people that are really, really at the top of healthcare in Northern Ireland can tell us that. But I have a fear, and I look down, I see Kilkeel, family down there, and I see the Mourne Hospital disappear. I'm seeing Daisy Hill, in my view, and it is my view only maybe, but I see it being stripped back.
Down is constantly under threat.
Down's constantly under threat. We've seen that last week too with the A&E, Lagan Valley too. So what is the future of healthcare? I don't really know, but it appears to me that it's being privatised more and more. We're talking about getting care in the homes and all too, Rowan, but where's the money going to come from all this here?
Right. Dominic Bradley and I met John Compton 2 weeks before the Compton report came out. We met him in Armagh. Now I looked around me that winter night and there was 30 people in a massive hall. So I said, Mr. Compton, first of all, I am disappointed and I congratulate the people who have come out on such a cold night. And I've counted roughly 29, 30 people. The meeting should not have been, there were 6 meetings across the north of Ireland. The meeting should have been in Newry, where there is a hospital, where you would have had 300 people. Now the whole thing gist of Compton is, there's a swathe. Let's move people from hospitals, let's move them to home. Let's move them out of nursing homes into their home. So I said, look, I worked in an elderly care ward for 7 years. We got patients from surgical, from medical, we got people recovering from alcohol, drugs and all the rest. Whenever these people were ready to go home, there wasn't the people at home to look after them. Now, there was on the committee that night, there was Compton and 3 of his original committee. There was another gentleman who then revealed himself a GP. I said, in this day and age, Patrick and Elizabeth and Georgina, they're out trying to pay a mortgage. The extended family has gone. There isn't the people at home to look after old Patrick, old Susie, old Margaret. The people aren't there. So this whole idea of moving people from hospitals, from nursing homes to their own homes, it isn't on. The people aren't there.
It was the way forward. I would have absolutely no problem in paying an extra amount of income tax every month if it was an income tax levy for the health service.
Right.
I might be paying an extra £5 a month. Now you guys know about politics and you know about figures. If I were saying I don't mind paying, and everyone in the land paying another £20 a month on their income tax, would that not solve the problem?
That's the big politics here, Rowan. You know, I mean, as local councillors and council candidate here, you know, we can't change that. It's our senior politicians. It's the guys at the top. It's the MLAs. It's the MPs.
But are they getting their strings pulled from a government who insists on a certain agenda, and the agenda has to be keep everything as it is, because if we upset the apple cart of the economy by allowing people to live longer, allowing people to be more healthy, we need to resculpt the economy in order to meet their fiscal needs in the future.
I'm just finishing Gordon Brown's book, his autobiography about coming out of government and the downturn and all the rest of it. And he actually used that word, resculpt the economy. And that's what we need to do. We need to resculpt our complete landscape here, our political landscape, our economic landscape, to restructure and rebalance everything, because it is changed. You're right, people are living longer. Jobs are changing, all the rest of it. Our economy is totally being transformed. We need to rethink what we're doing.
As Nigel Farage had said at our last conference over in London, that national insurance contributions should be going towards this. It's another tax. We need to be scrap the national insurance and set a flat tax rate. Yes, should it be 25% that will cover and pay that extra and put the money into the economy. But the government in England, in Parliament, in Westminster, is having a strings pulled, and that's all coming back to Europe.
We have a local executive at the moment that is paralysed. It's paralysed on flags, on parades and the past history. Right. The latest public opinion poll, what are the problems? Health and education, economics and jobs. That is the fundamentals that the vast majority of people are looking for. But as I said, we have two extremes in government. The two major parties are so extreme. I believe it's time people are going to have to think and say, right, let's steer the middle course. Let's vote for people who want to provide jobs, who want to provide a better health service, a better education service. No, there is a paralysis of the executive, and that's the problem.
We have people up in Stormont that can't see past the flag. They can't see past the parade.
You have it.
They don't care about common sense policies, about the communities, about the health service, about our education service, and as I've said before, we have joint ministers there that can't run a bath.
So on the evidence of my ears, I ask my next question. When may I look forward to an alliance between UKIP and the SDLP?
Yeah, right.
There may be a few differences there between the parties.
There are fundamentals.
Tell me about Nigel.
Right,
tell me about
right.
Nigel, the Englishman.
Oh,
Looking across
Nigel.
at you, the Irishman.
Right.
Does he display the penchant, as other Englishmen have done throughout history, to look on you as Paddy the Irishman? A problem to be dealt with.
We have 100% backing from Nigel, from Paul Nuttall, leader and deputy leader, both MEPs. 100% backing from them for the people of Northern Ireland as British citizens within the United Kingdom.
That goes without saying.
They have that.
The union is safe. There's no doubt
union,
about it.
The union is safe.
Well, dare anybody take the Queen away from me. She pays my travel fare everywhere I go.
Everywhere.
And you're asking a nationalist to cooperate and back UKIP. I mean, on a broader
No,
front.
I didn't say cooperate. I said cooperate, but back. You can exist
Right,
together
right,
in
yeah.
a loving relationship
Yeah.
of
But-
deep respect.
But we in the SDLP, I myself from the very beginning have been a fundamentalist in relation to Europe. Now, we haven't had a war for 60, 65 years in Europe, and that's one of the main reasons of the coming together of the European community, which originally was, you see, the problem with old Churchill was asked in 1956, why don't you join that other crowd? England was a member of EFTA, the European Free Trade Association, but the inner six, their economies were growing and growing and growing. But he said, join that, then I bashed their heads, and he said a few years ago. However, in 1961, the French said to Gaulle, one of my great heroes, no, we're not letting the Brits in, they're not good Europeans, and they aren't. UKIP and the Tories are not good Europeans. They're isolationist people.
Are you an isolationist person?
Yeah, of course.
Let him answer himself.
Right.
Personally, no.
Yeah.
So what's your deep-seated feeling for Europe?
Yes.
Europe has a lot to offer us.
Yeah.
But
How do you put
legislations-
flesh on the bones of that statement?
legislations are being made in Strasbourg. So basically, if we're going to be run by Europe, why elect an MP? Why elect someone to Stormont? Europe should be doing that.
Yeah,
That's the bottom line.
The people in the south of Ireland might say to you, to get the funding that has built our infrastructure of wonderful roads, maybe we can get Europe to help us fund the hospice.
You see, in Northern Ireland many years ago, the Treaty of Rome, that heading, the Treaty of Rome, we're not touching that. Until suddenly the Unionists realised some of the massive infrastructures down south was paid for, the massive roads was paid for by Europe. And they suddenly said, right, let's get in here quick. And they did. Now, the thing about this business, Europe, England has a major part in the Council of Europe. England plays a major part in the runnings of Europe. So this business say that we're run by Europe, there is massive participation by all of the countries, which UKIP doesn't acknowledge, doesn't want to know, you see. Yeah. But the Tories have this thing in their head. We are an island. We don't need that crowd. When it was first set up, it wasn't just an economic union. It was Mendes, France, and his accomplices at the time. It was a political as well as a European Union. Now, Hume said to us one time a few years ago, when England wasn't in Europe, England was a net importer of food. England is now a net exporter of food as a result of the farms getting together and getting their infrastructure right in the production of food. We're now an exporter, but prior to this we were a net. But you never hear a Tory minister or Farage and company saying
Mr.
that.
Farage, if you don't have to say to our friend there.
Well, I mean, I would love to meet him. He's rather a colourful character.
Well, that's interesting. You'd love to meet him. Why will he come over and meet us?
Nigel was over
recently.
November, July actually.
Yeah,
July, sorry.
Yeah,
Nigel was over
right.
and addressed some 300 people in Belfast. I have been led to believe that both Nigel and Paul Nuttall will be back over before Henry's campaign for the European elections. But this whole idea that UKIP, they're a unionist party. We are non-sectarian, non-racist, We have to look at our leadership. Paul Nuttall being a Roman Catholic, you know, we do have Catholic members as well, both in England and in Northern Ireland. You know, so there's too much tribal politics going on at the moment.
You can't make it any more plain than that.
Rowan, I think it's good that we're talking about Europe. We're coming into a European election here towards the end of May of this year, and we, SDLP, we are a pro-European party. We are European people. We believe in the ability of Europe to deliver for us. You mentioned it yourself in the Republic of Ireland, where they've got the infrastructure rebuilt, and that infrastructure is what's driving them out of the recession that they were in. It's creating the jobs again for them, and I feel we have lost out here in Northern Ireland over the last number of years.
Totally.
We are not getting our fair share out of Europe, and that's why we want to get a pro-European candidate back into the European Parliament who can get the funds down. John Hume brought down the peace funds. Those peace funds are still...
And Ian, who did well, he's now ill. Ian Paisley, he did very well with Hume.
Ian and Hume both worked very well in Europe.
Especially in the fishing industry.
Both well known.
For South Down.
So I feel that we have lost out since we've lost both them people to Europe. So let's hope that we can get a pro-European candidate elected for Northern Ireland. That's what is crucial to drive our economy again.
Okay, just a thought strikes me there about you know, the business of cooperation and Europe being there waiting and what we've got out of Europe in the past. We've done, this morning we've managed a small, extraordinary thing. First time for you in Newry. It's a kind of natural and easy journey down the road.
Yes.
You guys have made him welcome.
Absolutely.
You've had disagreement, but you've been civilised about it. And we go forward. And I just wonder if the future... You see, Fergal, when he was here this morning, you met him going out, our great guru of the economy. Fergal constantly beats the drum for more entrepreneurial effort, that less and less shall we be dependent upon government grants, that sooner or later the people in the southeast of England are going to say stop, no more, and that unless we can actually develop the private sector, the entrepreneurialism of individuals, like you and what you're doing in your own company, then we're going to be in difficulty. We've got to get rid of the public funding scenario that's there constantly and doesn't seem to be going away. What are our plans for dealing with that?
Go on ahead.
Yeah,
Either of you, go ahead.
Well, first of all, as chairman of economic development here in Newry and Mourne, I'm delighted to see that there's a new business opened on Newtown Road, private business, Cabroni Hardware, taking the risk, and that's what it's about. So we're out there, we're trying to drive entrepreneurs, we're trying to get them to take a risk, an opportunity that are out there, and there's loads of opportunities out there. So we have approximately, I think, about 30 programs as a council. Now what are we trying to do there? We're trying to stimulate. We're putting in a wee bit of seed money to take maybe the person who wants to start a business and give them that wee bit of guidance and support at the initial stages. Then it's pushed them on. The banks now have to play their part too. So I've had discussions with all the banks last year, 2013. What are you doing? How he's going to open up? And
why are you succeeding in business?
Well,
what is it? What's the magic dust that allows somebody to do well in business? And that's what we want. We want more businesses.
There's no magic formula.
Hard work.
But there's people out there who can't help. I mean, this morning here at 7:30 I was in Canal Courts Hotel with the Newry Mourne Business Networking Group, hearing those people, what they're doing, and they're all, how business works really is about people promoting people. You know, and there's a good guy there who's the secretary, maybe you've met him, Rowan, Seamus McGreevy.
Yes.
And Seamus can come into business, and if he doesn't get results for you, you don't pay him. That's the way he operates. So that's a wee bit of thinking outside the box there, because people are always scared, it's going to cost me money to do that. He's taking the risk, so he'll come into your business and he'll say, X, Y, Z, you do it and it works, then you pay him a few pounds. And that's what business, that's maybe the formula we need to put in. Somebody coming in to support, and that's what council are doing through the 30 programmes. And Armagh's part of that too, Banbridge's part of that too. Councils joining together as cluster groups to come in the business and say, look, here's what you can maybe do. work it, and hopefully 2014, I believe, is going to be a good year for business. I believe we're on the up again, we're coming out of it. There's an old thing, 7 to 8 years out of recession is whenever the economy gets back to where it was before the recession. We'll come close up now, another couple of years. So let's be positive about it. The opportunities are out there, take the risk, guys, and let's build a better and more prosperous Newry and Mourne.
Good, good. That's a lovely positive line to end on. But your last word, sir.
Lads, yes, I still believe in Armagh we have a ghost town of a city. We have local family-run stores that are closing down because the council are pricing them out of the premises. We're now attempting...
Rates, we're talking here.
Rate prices, yep, sorry. We're now in the talks now of Tesco coming. The site for Tesco is out of the city centre, so it's going to do nothing for the city centre, and I do believe in Newry have got it right. You have Sainsbury's, you have Tesco, and you have the city centre right slap bang in the middle. People will come to shop. I come to shop in Newry.
Good man.
Yeah, but I mean, my colleague Connaire talks about entrepreneurs. We have a fantastic company in Newry, First Derivatives. These were two chaps who worked in London, and one said to the other one time, "Come on, let's get out of here." And the other guy said, "Why? Let's go back to Newry." "To do what?" He said, "What are we doing here?" They came to Newry. No one would loan them money. Newry Credit Union loaned them £5,000.
Got them started.
You see a massive signpost now around Newry over the last few months. First Derivatives, we employ more people than Google. Right. This is an outstanding company. If they have an idea, if they hear of someone in Indonesia, in South America, in Australia, that are interested in some of their products, they just don't lift the phone. They have someone gone out there, flown out the very next day. They employ young professional people from all over the world. And the marvellous thing about it is, whenever they're joining the company from Australia, Singapore, New Zealand, they come to Newry to train. They come to Newry. This is a young company expanding. They're doing fantastic. We have Norbrook, started from Indigenous. We have that young company out in Carnpain who do an awful lot of repair work for ships. They are also sending boys and girls all over the world in ship repair work. Unbelievable. And they're Indigenous. Now, sometimes we've got problems with Invest Northern Ireland. We did have Nigel Hamilton down, a nice enough man, but we put it to him. We thought that they weren't doing enough for our area. Plus the fact that we are doing our part from an Indigenous point of view, entrepreneurship. We believe that you people could be helping us more. And they could also help Armagh more also, because we believe Armagh is part of the wider hinterland. And we're all together in this, because if you've got employment in Armagh, you have opportunities for Newry and vice versa. So we think Invest Northern Ireland could do an awful lot more. But 3 cheers for our Indigenous companies.
Indeed, indeed, and this is the way forward, and maybe it's going to be the year that you dream it will be, and you all dream it will be. Well, Wayne will come and shop in Newry. I've got to ask you, John, will you go to Armagh to play cricket on the green?
Well, I go to Armagh quite frequently, and we go to the golf club on Newry Road for meals, because Patricia's sister, my wife, has a sister living in Armagh, and I have a great affinity to Armagh from a religious and many other points of view. It's a place I've always loved.
Place of decency and good people.
Oh yeah, good people.
So that's it. Wayne Hawthorne, thank you from UKIP. Welcome to the studio. It's a first Armagh politician to come into the studio. You're so welcome, and thank you. Come back. And Connaire McGreevy, young politician, the top of the tree. Old politician John coming down the tree to go out onto the pasture lands of retirement.
I'm delighted to do so.
Do you know what happens to old stallions when they get to retirement?
but I must say there is pressure. There would be pressure, you know. Now, I know that I studied politics, and I have a degree in politics, and I love politics. From I was in the cot, I was interested in politics.
You're figuring out what the best move would be to get out of the cot. And going forward, you're a political.
But then you have obligations to your party. I belong to a very, very honourable party. Very honourable. Right through the Troubles, and I make this statement quite often, there are no boys and girls lying 6 foot under as a result of our actions or our rhetoric. And I take
well, you were, so you did. You were as a... I go back to my nautical. I go back to my nautical terms in my nautical days. I talk about a sacrificial anode. You were decidedly sacrificial anode.
From the very beginning.
In the terms of bringing Sinn Féin away from the bullet and into the ballot box.
Right.
And you did that.
Our party did that.
Yeah, well done, well done. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much indeed. I'm grateful to you coming in. Keep in touch. We'll see you again. And in the meantime, we'll play you some music. My